We continue to get more indications that U.S. economic conditions are going to deteriorate rapidly during the second half of this year. Now, yesterday I reported on a brand new survey which found that 69% of U.S. CFOs believe that a recession is coming by the end of 2020. And today we learned that Morgan Stanley's Business Conditions Index has fallen dramatically. In fact, according to CNBC, the sudden drop in the index was the largest one-month decline on record. A reading of the economy from Morgan Stanley is signaling June gloom. Morgan Stanley's Business Conditions Index, which captures turning points in the economy, fell by 32 points in June, to a level of 13 from a level of 45 in May. Now, this drop is the largest one-month decline on record, and the lowest level since December 2008 during the financial crisis, according to the firm. The decline shows a sharp deterioration in sentiment this month that was broad-based across sectors, economist Ellen Zentner said in a note to clients. Fundamental indicators point to a broad softening of activity, but analysts did not widely attribute the weakening to trade policy. At this point, I really don't see how anyone can possibly claim that the U.S. economy is doing well. We also just learned that U.S. unemployment claims have now risen for 3 weeks in a row, and that the trade war is clearly beginning to take an immense toll on the economy. This week, Walmart, Costco, hundreds of other companies jointly sent President Trump a letter that essentially begged him to end this trade war with China. The following comes from CNN. More than 600 companies and industry trade associations, including Walmart, Costco, Target, Gap, Levi Strauss, and Foot Locker, wrote to the White House urging Trump to remove levies on China and end the ongoing trade war. We know firsthand that the additional tariffs will have a significant negative and long-term impact on American businesses, farmers, families, and the U.S. economy, the company said in the letter. An escalated trade war is not in the country's best interest, and both sides will lose. Last month, the Trump administration increased tariffs to 25% from 10% on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods. The tariffs apply to consumer products such as luggage, mattresses, handbags, bicycles, vacuum cleaners, air conditioners. Additionally, Trump has threatened to impose tariffs on an additional $300 billion worth in goods imported from China, including toys, clothes, shoes, appliances, and televisions. Tariffs are taxes paid directly by U.S. companies, not China, the company said to Trump. Tariff increases and uncertainty around these trade negotiations have created turmoil in the markets, threatening our economy. Of course, this is exactly what I have been telling my followers for a long time. There aren't going to be any winners in this trade war, and anyone that suggests that there will be is just being delusional. If there had been a quick resolution to the trade war, large corporations could have perhaps swallowed the increased costs that they are facing. But since it appears that this trade war will be with us for the foreseeable future, big companies are going to be forced to pass those costs on to the consumers, and some top executives are openly admitting this. At the end of the day, prices will go up on things, Costco Chief Financial Officer Richard Galanti told analysts last month. Dollar General Chief Financial Officer John Garrett also said the company's low-income shopping base will be facing higher prices as 2019 progresses. The Trump administration has played down the effects of tariffs on consumers so far. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said last month at a House committee hearing that he doesn't expect there will be significant costs for consumers. I don't necessarily agree with that, said Mnuchin when pressed by Democrat Representative Cindy Axne of Iowa on whether prices of consumer goods would be higher.
Do you agree that American consumers will be paying more as a result of these tariffs? I don't necessarily agree with that, and that's something we're monitoring very carefully, and we'll be issuing exemptions.
So you disagree with all of our key retailers in the country and experts who understand that a tariff is most likely passed on to consumers because that's historically what happens. You disagree with that as the Secretary of the Treasury.
I just spoke to many of these CEOs. Many of the
Do you disagree with that the tariffs won't be passed on to consumers in any way, shape, or form?
Again, there may be a small number of items where the tariff may be passed on, and those are the things we will specifically...
So you agree that American consumers will be paying more because of the tariffs?
We've made no decisions on that. The last tranche is subject to the President's approval and subject to exemptions. So
I think it's the importers that make the decisions on that. Isn't that correct? It's their products that they're importing?
Excuse me?
The decision is being made by the folks in our country who own the companies who are importing the products, not necessarily you who's deciding what price they're going to put out on their product.
Well, again, if we issue an exemption, then there will be no price increase. And again, most of those companies are moving products to other
reclaiming
places.
my time. Moving on, can you tell me what the average Iowan makes in a year?
I can't tell you exactly.
Can you tell me what cost these tariffs will put on these American families?
I don't expect there will be significant costs on the American families, and that's something that we are absolutely focused on.
Have you done research on this?
I have. As I said, I've just spoken to all the major companies that provide consumer goods.
So if you've done research on this, how come we haven't seen this research? I haven't seen it. I don't think my colleagues have seen it. Why hasn't that been passed on to us to ensure that the constituents in our district aren't paying the cost for this?
However, the company cited a study in their letter to the White House that found 25% tariffs on an additional $300 billion worth of Chinese goods would add more than $2,000 in costs for the average American family of four. If prices go up, but our paychecks stay the same, that means that our standard of living is going to go down. Now, as I noted yesterday, it's being projected that U.S. corporate earnings will be way down in the second quarter, so the big corporations are definitely suffering as well. Meanwhile, China is warning of substantial damage to their economy too, and the Chinese Ministry of Commerce just told the press that this trade war could lead to a global recession. Chinese Ministry of Commerce spokesman Gao Deng told a Beijing press conference on Thursday that there will be no winner in the trade war, which could cause a recession in the United States and global economies. The ministry did not disclose U.S. investment growth in China for the month of May alone, but the plunge seems to have coincided with the collapse of trade talks between Beijing and Washington. China's former central bank governor, Zhao Jiachuan, has also warned that the ongoing trade war could cause financial chaos to the global financial order should emerging markets who rely on exports try to claim a share of the new openings in the United States and China by opting for a series of currency devaluations. Zhao believes that countries caught up in the trade war may have no choice but to devalue their currencies to gain trade advantages or competitive devaluations. In late May, he dismissed the importance of keeping the yuan above 7 to the US dollar, prompting analysts to argue that a weaker yuan could help exporters. If the trade war continues, it will easily lead to the change of exchange rates and the consensus that we've made on the prevention of competitive devaluation in the past could be challenged again. Former People's Bank of China Governor Zhao said at the annual Luzi Zui Financial Forum on Friday, if everybody is relying on competitive devaluation, the global financial order will be in chaos. Of course, we were almost certainly heading towards a global recession anyway, but the trade war is definitely accelerating our problems. At this point, global trade has already collapsed to levels not seen since the depths of the last recession. Manufacturing numbers are plunging all over the world, and we just got some brand new numbers from the UK that are extremely alarming. Production output in the UK dropped by 2.7% in April from March, and GDP fell by 0.4% in just 1 month, according to the latest figures by the Office of National Statistics. The manufacturing sector provided the largest contribution to the downturn, with the manufacturing index plunging 3.9% in April from March, its biggest monthly fall since June 2002. June 2002 was 17 years ago. Not even during the last recession did we witness a monthly decline of that magnitude. The speed at which the global economy is now deteriorating is breathtaking, and the crisis that so many thought had passed us could actually be right on the doorstep. And of course, most Americans are completely and utterly unprepared for any sort of an economic crisis. Today, 59% of us are living paycheck to paycheck. And a survey that was just released discovered that the financial situation of most Americans has not improved since 2007. Bankrate surveyed 2,740 adults across the country. Of those surveyed, 2,315 were older than 18 when the recession started. Among people who were adults before the recession hit, 33% said their financial situation is about the same as it was before 2007, while 23% said their situation is worse. When you add those two numbers together, you get a total of 56% of all Americans that say that their financial situation is either worse or about the same as it was just before the last recession hit. That isn't good, and now another major downturn is here. But of course, most Americans assume that everything is going to be just fine. For most of us, the pain of the last recession is a fading, distant memory, and things have been relatively stable for an extended period of time. So for the moment, most of the population is not too alarmed about what's coming. Unfortunately, that will soon change in a major way.